On today's show, a holiday weekend is on the horizon. The Hawks have now announced their Summer League roster for the trip to Las Vegas. We get into all of that, plus Asa Newell's contract, the moratorium, and more coming up.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2015 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you on a Thursday evening into Friday. And today's podcast is brought to you by the folks at the Gametime app. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. I also want to encourage you at the top of the show, as I always do, to make Locked On Hawks your first listen each and every day. Check us out. Subscribe to the podcast anywhere you find your podcast. Audio side, that includes places like Apple and Spotify. We're also on YouTube on the video side, so please like this video as you're watching it and tell your friends and your colleagues about this podcast. It's been a kind of slower time, knock on wood, the last couple of days after a flurry of activity. This is kind of the time of the offseason that kind of starts to slow down a little bit. It used to be the free agency would take several days, and now a lot of it happens in like a very, very narrow band of time. Of course, the Hawks got into that by acquiring Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Luke Kennard in about a, hour period, basically in one day. But lots of roster stuff to get into on today's podcast. No massive news, but some stuff to touch on for sure as we get into the July 4th holiday. Summer League is right around the corner. The Hawks open up Summer League a week from when you're probably listening to this podcast on the 4th, etc. They open up on the 11th in Las Vegas. And speaking of that, Summer League is a place that I actually want to go first and dig in a little bit here to the Hawks roster for the trip to Las Vegas. It's now finally available to us to dig into. So the Hawks have been pretty cloak and dagger about their Summer League roster, even in like behind the scenes circles. People like me, that I occasionally know things ahead of time, and I didn't know much of anything. I had some suspicions, some inklings, but Ansi Soleil was asked, I think, 3 times on the record over the last couple of weeks about Summer League, and he declined to answer really at all who was going to be there, who wasn't going to be there, etc. But the Hawks did announce the roster, 8 days ahead of time, so plenty of time to dig in a little bit here. And I want to begin with the players who have some kind of direct tie to the organization already. And then I'll go later on into the guys who are kind of like Summer League invites who might have been outside that are, everybody has some intrigue to them, but there's some levels to this as I'll kind of get into on this one. So obviously it's kind of a sicko topic, but certainly an interesting time to follow along with the Hawks. Maybe the team that I got the most questions about today was that Zaccharie Risacher, the number 1 overall pick from last season, is not playing in Las Vegas. Now, to me, I was not surprised by this really at all. The Hawks have been, again, tight-lipped about Summer League, so there was some uncertainty. I thought there was at least a chance he might play, but even if he did, I expect him to play 1 or 2 games at the absolute most in Vegas. Now he's not going to go at all. Maybe he'll show up. Oftentimes players will be around the team that are not on the roster, but he's not going to play in Vegas. And look, he played a lot of minutes last year as an NBA starter. Like, he was a starting player for a competent team last season. Number 2 in Rookie of the Year, all of those things. Most rookies don't have that kind of workload. And also, he is in line to play internationally for France later on this summer. So that combination, for me, it's like, what's he going to really get out of this? Yeah, would it have been fun to watch him in Vegas? 100%. I get why fans wanted to watch him. But for me, it's totally normal that he's not going. It's the choice that I probably would have made as the Hawks from the outside looking in. So that's the headliners, that he's not going. But there's plenty of guys to talk about. The other one that actually is not going and made some news on the firm roster size, that Mo Gueye is not going to play in Las Vegas. And to me, I thought he was not going to play the entire time, so even less of a surprise here. I never heard anything about him playing, to be honest with you. He's still young, and he did play a full season this last year. It was split between the G League and the NBA, but crucially, a couple things. He has an injury history. He's a taller guy with injury history, and personally, I'm not sure how much is going to benefit him to play. Now, obviously, a key point, keep that, this actually applies to everything that we're talking about in the next 2 weeks about Summer League. This is not the only development time for players in the summer. It is the only time that that everyone can actually watch these guys. So I think it certainly always gets overweighted in the development cycle. But most of the skill development stuff happens off the court and away from public eye. Keep that in mind for Mo Gueye in particular. But it's built from Summer League, I should say, is built way more for perimeter players and guards. And the stuff that Mo Gueye needs to polish on offensively is not really conducive, in my opinion, to the Summer League environment. it wouldn't hurt him to play. I wouldn't say that, but I think that, and it wouldn't have like bothered me if he went. But for me, he was probably the least likely of all the potential guys. I think I gave a list of the potential players on the Hawks roster that might go that he was on. But for me, he was always the least likely to go, including Risacher, of all of those guys. So no surprise there. Now, to the guys who actually are playing, Kobe Bufkin is going to play. That was the projection that I had the entire way if he was healthy. So obviously a good sign that he's actually on the roster. Going into year 3 is Kobe right now. Famously, he's been banged up his first 2 seasons. People did have, I think, kind of forgot that he did flash quite a bit in the G League. I know it wasn't a huge sample size, but he averaged 24 points, 6 assists, and 5 rebounds per game in the G League. Like, he was a dominant player at that level. And again, it's the G League. It's different for sure. It's not always a simple translation. But even in the NBA, his defense has been playing up when he's been there, all that stuff. And I have heard some genuinely positive buzz behind the scenes about Kobe in recent days about how the Hawks feel about him, how he looks in workouts. I've heard he's been around the facility working out, all of those things. Now, I'll be the first to say, you can't always tell how real that positive buzz is on a player because there's no incentive for the team to leak negative stuff about that player. Even if they're going to trade him, they wouldn't want to kind of have it out there that he's not been looking good. But they've always liked Kobe. I know Quinn has. I know Auntie is new, but he was around last year. Kyle was around when they drafted Kobe. And he's got an interesting skill set. You know, he's probably the most point guardy of all of the like other non-Trey guys in the backcourt. He is a former first-round pick for a reason. He does have real talent and good size, and his defense was actually, again, good at the NBA level already. So I'll be intrigued. He'll be the guy with the ball in his hands, I'd imagine, quite a bit for the Hawks. He may not play the whole week. That shouldn't surprise anybody. The hope would be that Kobe is quote-unquote too good. There are lots of guys who get shut down every year in Summer League who are like, all right, we've seen it all we need to see. The hope would be he looks great the first couple games. That's it for him, but we'll see in the meantime. Asa Newell, the first-round pick from only like 2 weeks ago now, maybe a week and a half ago now, basically, is going to be on the roster. No surprise there. He was always going to be, so no surprise there. Again, the one thing that I will say, and like we've talked about Asa a lot, we'll talk about him more, is that they only brought one guy that's listed as a center on their entire 15-man Summer League roster, and it's not Newell. So he might play a decent amount of center in Summer League. I would like to see that, honestly, but we'll see. He's listed as a forward on the roster. Doesn't really matter. It's Summer League. It's kind of flexible, but Ace is there. He's probably the headliner as far as biggest name because he's his first-round pick. Bufkin and Newell, first-round picks, guys people recognize from big schools. They'll be the ones that kind of make the poster for the Hawks in Las Vegas. Also, Nikola Juricic is going to be on this team, the 21-year-old guard with 6'6", of course, with on-ball ability. He was a second-round pick last year for the Hawks. Without fail, people always forget that he exists, honestly. If you're not a diehard, I know the diehards know, but people are like, wait, who is that? Oh, this guy's back. Yeah, he's still around. He got hurt last year during Summer League. I was at that game. He had surgery. He missed like 4 months and then never signed an NBA contract. He signed a G League only deal with College Park. And he came back in November, played 33 games, a decent amount of minutes for College Park. He started out very slowly in College Park and then actually got a lot better as the season went along. Last 19 games, he averaged 14 points a game on decent efficiency, had 4 20-point games in the last month with College Park. So some flashes there for sure. A guy that I know I want to see. I'm sure the Hawks want to see. Will they sign him to a deal? Will it be a two-way? Will it be a full contract? Lots of uncertainty, but a guy that I have said numerous times now, you can basically just treat like he's a second-round pick from 2 weeks ago. First year, kind of a lost year. He was around the team, around the organization, but contractually, he's kind of a new entity to this roster and a guy who still has talent, 21 years old, and they liked him enough to draft him in the second round just 1 year ago. Elsewhere, Jacob Toppin is on this team. The Hawks gave him a two-way qualifying offer 2 weeks ago after he finished the season last year on a two-way with Atlanta. 6'8" from Kentucky. He joined the team mid-season last year. Didn't play a lot at the Atlanta level, but was in College Park some. Not entirely sure how the Hawks feel about him, honestly. It's a new GM, of course, new front office. But Toppin is a talented enough guy to where if he's on a two-way, you're in totally good shape. He should be an interesting guy that will play a decent amount, I would imagine, in Las Vegas. And the last guy who is familiar to Hawks fans, who has already been around the team, that I want to always talk about is Keaton Wallace. Keaton Wallace, I'm bringing up now in part because I mentioned before, Risacher was the guy that I got the most questions about. Number 2 on that list was actually Keaton Wallace and about him not playing. So he's not going to play. He isn't on the roster. And I'm trying to get some information still, honestly, about how this new front office feels about Keaton as a priority. I don't really know. They did offer him a two-way qualifying offer. If he wants to sign that, this is me talking now, not them. I would love to have Keaton back on a two-way if it was me. He's a good two-way player. We know that already. We saw that last year. But fans were surprised. I was not surprised for a few reasons. Number one, this is not a negative, but Keaton's kind of like already is what he is. He's 26 years old. He's been around the Hawks for a while now. They kind of know what he's going to look like in Las Vegas, and I'm not sure what he was going to do, like change his perception based on playing against guys like way younger than him in Las Vegas. Like he'll be good in that setting, but I don't know what that means. The other thing that I think also matters a lot is that Atlanta has a lot of guys who they probably want to see with the ball in their hands in Las Vegas. Obviously, Bufkin is number one on that list. If he's playing, he's going to have the ball. Juricic, again, plays with the ball in his hands a lot. That's a guy that I want to see the ball in his hands some in Summer League. Lamont Butler, who we'll bring up later on, is a guy that they just agreed to a contract of some kind, whether it's a two-way or whatever. They want to see him, I'm sure. And then Adam Flagler, we'll talk about again later on as well, was a guy that I was surprised to see on this roster, but is a real prospect that could have the ball in his hands as well in Las Vegas. So they have a lot of guys they can kind of use in the backcourt. Keaton got the qualifying offer again with Atlanta. And I think, again, for me, a two-way for Keaton is totally fine. And maybe he gets a full contract. We don't really know that just yet. But I wasn't shocked to see him not on the roster. He could have played, but a little bit of a give and take. And again, you only have so many guys, and they're trying to kind of, I think for me, cast a wide net as to what they're going to be doing in Vegas with this roster, because there is a lot of talent on this Summer League team. All right, more to get to in a second when it comes to the guys who are undrafted free agents that the Hawks just brought in to bring into Summer League, plus the non-roster guys like Adam Flagler and Jack McVay and Jack White, et cetera, after a word from our partners. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. We've probably already been there, logging on early and waiting forever for concert tickets to go on sale, only to have your spot lost for a show you've been trying to see for a very long time. And live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping, and that's where Gametime comes in. At Gametime, they're making concert tickets faster and easier than ever, and prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% off with their last-minute killer deals. And if you're tired of seeing endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal possible, they have zone deals actually at Gametime to pick the best seats for you in the section if you want them to do that for you. And the app also shows you a panoramic seat view. There are no surprises about how it's going to look when you get into the venue. And at Gametime, the prices that are actually listed are the price you're actually going to pay with no hidden fees. And if you're worried about what happens to the price, if your plans change, they have a Gametime guarantee that has your back with cancellation protection and much more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show and sports tickets right now with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, use that account and then create that account there at Gametime and use that code. It's LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, and this will be brief a little bit. There are three guys that we've already talked about on the podcast that the Hawks have agreed to contracts with that will be on the Summer League roster that were undrafted free agents. And they are, I believe it's actually Eli Njai from Real Madrid. He officially signed a two-way contract today. So he is the one guy on this list other than Asa Newell who's already officially signed to a deal. He's on a two-way. That's signed, sealed, delivered. It's been reported, 6'8", athletic forward. I've watched him a little bit more since the sort of rumblings started coming out. I like what I see for the most part. I'm intrigued enough to understand the signing, and he'll be in Vegas probably as a power forward option for the Hawks. Lamont Butler, who I mentioned before, has been reported to be a two-way by a couple of, I would say, non-NBA sources, some college reporters. I have not gotten full confirmation on that just yet. It might be a situation where they give him a two-way if they have the ability to, or they give him an Exhibit 10. I don't really know yet. I don't want to commit either way because I've been kind of not given the full assurance on that one. With Njai, I was kind of confident it was going to be a two-way. It was out there. Butler, I'm less so. So he'll be around, probably on a deal of some kind. We'll see. But a guy that I like, scrappy guard, defender, can shoot it a little bit, handle the ball a little bit. And as I always say, two-way contracts are very, very fluid, let's just say. And then the last guy on this kind of mini tier is Kobe Johnson, the brother of Jalen Johnson, talented defender from USC and UCLA. Long way to go on offense, but definitely a very, very positive defender already, an intriguing guy, and a real prospect, in addition to being Jalen's brother. So that brings us to the non-roster guys on this team. And the big one for me is Adam Flagler. 6'3" guard, 25 years old. He's from Gwinnett County, Duluth High School, local product. He's been on a two-way with the Thunder the last 2 seasons, but Oklahoma City is overflowing, I would say. They have a roster crunch. They have so many draft picks and so many young players that they're kind of having to quell that. Like, they don't really have room for much of anybody anymore. Of course, won the title with the Thunder. Before that, national title winner at Baylor. He kind of just wins everywhere he goes, it seems like. But the big-time thing with Flagler is that he's a big-time shooter. 41% from 3 in the G League in 2 seasons, 40% in 3 years with Baylor. Like, he's a bomber of a shooter at 6'3" in the backcourt with some on-ball chops as well. Played in 37 games with the Thunder last year, like not in the G League, with the Thunder. Like, he was mostly in like mop-up duty, but he was with the team like pretty much all year on Oklahoma City. This kind of guy is not usually available on a summer league deal, so I am intrigued to see. I haven't heard anything yet, and maybe he's going to be in Exhibit 10 or whatever. I'm not sure yet, but eyebrow raised on that. And again, I'm not sure what the role is going to be for him in summer league, but last year I saw him there a couple times. He averaged 25 points a game in summer league last year with Oklahoma City. So he's a real prospect. I was surprised. He is local, which I'm sure is part of this. And there is that, there's sort of a guard opening somewhere. So there's maybe a path there, but he's the one of the non-roster guys that's like a legitimately intriguing piece, given that he's been around the league the last 2 years and is still pretty young and has a real skill with his shooting. Elsewhere, a couple of Australians, Jack McVeigh and Jack White, are both on this team. McVeigh, 6'8" from Australia, was on a 2-way last year with Houston. Again, anytime you get someone on a summer league team, on a summer league invite that was on a real 2-way deal last year, that is a win. McVeigh is an older player. He's 29 years old, so he's an adult already, but he can shoot it, takes a lot of threes, makes some like a real guy that you can bring in for summer league. Jack White, 27-year-old wing from Australia, has NBA experience in Denver and in Memphis, won a title in Germany last year, was a role player there, but is a real player as well. Like, I don't know how they're going to use these guys yet, but they're certainly, I would say, overqualified for being like summer league fodder, basically. Below that is kind of a drop-off as far as like accomplishments, but some interesting guys down the list. Davon Smith is a local guy as well. Grayson High School, Gwinnett County, was played Georgia Tech some, Mississippi State some, Utah, and St. John's. Actually led the Pac-12 in assists one year at Utah. So a small guard, but certainly has some skills. A player named Javen Johnson. This is kind of funny. So they had Jalen Johnson is the Hawks star forward. His brother Kobe is on the team. And then they have an unrelated player named Javen, not Jalen, Javen Johnson, who's not his brother. Kind of odd. But 6'6" wing, was in the Warriors G League team last year. Went to DePaul, can shoot a little bit from what I can see. Nice little skill set there. Jake Stevens is the only center listed on the roster. We'll probably see some Newell there, maybe some Nelly Jr. Joseph, perhaps even some Njai at center. But Stevens is a 25-year-old from Chattanooga, played for the Hornets last year in summer league, has some international experience, can shoot a little bit, like just a summer league big guy for sure. Dwight Murray Jr. is on the team as well, 6-foot guard, played in College Park a lot last year. So if you've seen the Skyhawks play, he was around a lot for them. And then finally, Nelly Jr. Joseph, a true rookie, actually was in this draft. One undrafted, of course, finished college in New Mexico, 6'10" forward from Nigeria originally, good rebounder, and there you go. So that's the roster. I would say overall, a couple takeaways here. Number one, Brian Bailey is coaching this team. He is one of the higher ranking assistants, like a bench assistant for the Hawks under Quinn. He's been around Quinn for a while. There is an opening there on the Hawks bench right now with Igor Kokoskov going overseas again for the number one assistant job. Could be Bailey. We don't really know what they're going to do there, but he's been around for a long time, qualified for sure. The Hawks have 5 players on this roster who've already played in the NBA. Bufkin, Toppin, Flagler, McVeigh, and White have all played in NBA games before, the 5 of them, plus Asa Newell, who's going to be on the NBA this season, first-round pick. So that's 6 guys already with real experience or a very, very clear projection of being in the league. And then you have Juricic, Njai, Butler, and Kobe Johnson, who are all guys the Hawks went out and proactively signed or acquired or drafted or whatever that could be players. So that's 10 guys. Most summer league, look, I've been covering the summer league for a long time. Every year since 2014, I've been there. There have been a lot of Hawks summer league teams that didn't have 5 guys that were interesting. This one has arguably 10. Now, they may not all be interesting because, McVeigh's older, White's older. I get that. Those guys have been at least been in the league before. They know how to play. And there are at minimum 5, 6, 7 guys that I'm legitimately interested in on this roster. So that'll be fun to kind of dig into and look at. later on this week and into next week, and I will be on the scene in Vegas for all of that. All right, a few more notes coming up in a second about the moratorium and some transactions, etc., after a word from our partners. All right, one more transaction that is now official, actually, is that Asa Newell signed his rookie scale contract today on Thursday. This is one of the only small handful of kinds of deals that actually happen officially during the moratorium. We'll talk about later on. But there isn't a whole lot of wiggle room here as far as the contract. The rookie scale basically just is what you are allowed to sign for around that time for a first-round pick. It's more locked in than a free agent contract is. There's some wiggle room, but not a lot. The official numbers have not come out yet for this, but the rookie scale average projection for 23rd pick in the draft is the following: about $3.2 million in his first season, $3.4 million in second season. Those 2 seasons are guaranteed. So Asa Newell has now locked in a guarantee of $6+ million. That's a lot of money for a young guy. And then a team option in year 3, and a team option in year 4. And this is the same for any rookie scale contract. Even Risacher, number 1 overall pick, the deal is still with team options in year 3 and year 4. And you have to decide on them a year in advance. So Risacher's 3rd-year option, they have to choose to pick up or decline that in October. Now, that'll be an easy one, but it's always interesting kind of back and forth with some guys. But anyways, 2 years guaranteed, 2 team options. And all that changes there is that, A, he's gotten security, but also he cannot be traded for 30 days. He wouldn't be anyway, probably, but just want to at least say that out loud. He's actually not allowed to be traded now for 30 days, but he'll be ready to go for Summer League. Again, there's a little bit of wiggle room. You could sign for less. The vast majority of guys do not. You actually can get as much as 120% of that contract as well. So he might get a little bit more. We don't really know yet. But in the meantime, he signed, he's around, he's locked in, and the first-round pick of the Hawks. Quickly here, the Hawks continue to draw rave reviews for their offseason. We all kind of know that now, I'm sure, if you're a Hawks diehard. But still getting all kinds of inclusions on winners lists for the offseason so far. A lot of that is theoretical, yes. I had someone today was why are they who cares about when? I'm not saying this is gospel at all, but the process stuff, not the results, the process stuff of doing stuff that makes sense is drawing a lot of attention in a good way for Atlanta. Of course, the biggest thing is the trade with the Pelicans. That's the one that's everyone loves. But Shamit Dua wrote a Substack piece. He actually covers the Pelicans for a long time. It made the rounds today quite a bit about the heist the Hawks pulled off against the Pelicans, basically in the draft. That, number one, I recommend reading it, but a lot of it was the disbelief that the Hawks were actually in, that they were actually able to get this offer from the Pelicans, double checking it, triple checking it to be oh, this is a real thing. Yes. Also, I thought Bobby Marks of ESPN made a good point about this as well. He noted that it's not just the media or people like me or pundits or analysts or whatever crushing the Pelicans and praising the Hawks. It's executives from teams. It's agents around the league. And I've heard the same thing, but Bobby knows a lot of people that I do. I don't want to overstate it again, but when other teams have nothing to do with this, or what is going on in New Orleans, I would be not happy as a Pelicans fan for sure. But for the Hawks, they benefit here from this one. And again, that to put one more framing on this, and we'll move on, I promise, because I will not do this all the time. But Zach Cram of ESPN, formerly of The Ringer, has a trade value chart that's a very smart, analytical look at this. And that projection has the difference between the 13th pick, where the Hawks were, and 23, where the Pelicans were. The difference of those picks in value is the 28th pick in the draft. So basically, if you go by that, I'm not saying you have to, but as a general rule, if the Hawks get the 28th pick in the draft, it'd be worth going down 10 spots. The Hawks might have the 3rd pick in the draft, or the 7th pick, or the 11th pick. I said on the show that day of the draft, even if the Pelicans and the Bucks are both decent and it's the 17th pick in the draft, you still do the trade. Plus, you have uncapped upside with 2 shots at it. So, again, nothing brand new here, but I thought some more interesting stuff from other national sources who are smart about it's not just us that thinks this, the league is confused by this, and also just the pure value of the transaction is pretty impressive. Last thing on the show, the moratorium ends at noon Eastern on Sunday, which is the 6th of July. Basically, what that means about the moratorium is that there's kind of a dead period between July 1 and July 6, basically, where players and teams can talk but they can't actually sign and officially announce most deals. As I said before, like rookie deals, they can sign. Like two-way deals, you can sign. But bigger stuff, bigger trades, exceptions, any of that stuff cannot happen until at least noon on Sunday. Now, the Hawks have a lot of business that's already been done in the way that we already know it's been out there, it's been reported, it's going to happen. But there's always a little tiny bit of uncertainty until something gets announced. For instance, it's not a Nuggets show. There's been reporting today about a Valanciunas for Dario Saric trade. It was already agreed to, but apparently Valanciunas might go back to Europe. And like the Nuggets are like, wait, what are we doing here? Like, are they going to sign? Is this deal? This is not official. They've agreed to it, but they don't want to do the deal anymore. Probably this is me talking. If they don't get the player, so there's always a little bit of uncertainty, and there's a reason why I always probably overly explain, like, hey, not official yet, until it's actually announced. But for instance, the Hawks stuff can't happen until the 6th. For example, the Porzingis trade can't go through until the 6th because of the Nets and all that stuff. The Alexander Walker sign-in trade cannot go through until at least Sunday. The Kennard signing, same thing. Any extension for Trey or Dyson cannot happen until Sunday. And also the reported Capella sign-in trade with Houston can't happen either. And on that topic, briefly, I discussed on the show the potential expansion of the Kevin Durant trade as a potential avenue for like how the Hawks were going to send Capella to Houston, because Houston didn't have a pick. So Houston didn't have the ability to take him in. So the Hawks are going to get a tiny return for him anyway. Doesn't really matter. But the Athletic already reported that's going to probably be the construction. Just throwing it as part of the KD trade. So you'll hear the Hawks are in the KD. It's not a different thing right now. It's just the Capella for a second round swap and cash right now. But they also report at the Athletic that the KD trade also might become a 7-team deal. And they mentioned the name of Daquan Plowden in that. Like Plowden might be part of this in some way. Two-way guys can get traded. The Hawks don't have to send him anywhere, but maybe they want to just have him go somewhere that he wants to go. Plowden, to bring it full circle, is not on the Summer League roster, despite being on a two-way contract, signed right now for the Hawks. Maybe this is why. So there's a lot of uncertainty. I've been doing the bit for 2 weeks now that two-way deals are fluid, because they are, but maybe he'll be in the trade somehow. We don't really know. But one of the quirks of the moratorium every year is that a lot of these deals expand to become 3-team and 4-team, 5-team deals. Now, 7 teams is not the usual, but basically it's already been, as my friend Jake Fisher reported today on his live stream, it was already going to be a 6-team deal, and apparently the Capella thing and the Hawks might make it a 7-team deal. Crazy, but the Hawks side of it for now hasn't changed. Maybe Plowden is in it somewhere, but without any disrespect to Plowden, he's on a 2-way contract. The Hawks are not going to get some massive return for Plowden. It's going to be probably either nothing or a second-round swap or cash or whatever. We'll see, but the 2-way slots are quite fluid for Atlanta. Anyway, that's all formalities at this point in time. Keep that in mind. The Hawks will start to finally announce things, I would say, as early as Sunday. But until then, like, nobody can talk about Porzingis or Kennard or Alexander Walker. Press conferences are on hold, all that stuff. We covered all that already. The Hawks have 3 roster spots open as a refresher, because I might take a couple days off now. Unless they do something with the holiday coming up, just as a state of affairs. Still 3 roster spots open. They have 12 guys on the team. You have to have at least 14. So the Hawks have to sign or acquire 2 players at least. Plus their 2-ways. They have 2 officially right now, Plowden and Njai. Plowden might not be there anymore soon. We'll see. So there's flexibility there. You got Juricic they got to sign. Well, they don't have to, but they probably will, I would guess. You still got Lamont Butler, all of these guys. So uncertainty, but also not the huge stuff necessarily. Trey's extension eligible beginning on Sunday. So is Dyson. Dyson, I would say on the Trey front, nothing's changed. Like, they'll negotiate. If they agree to a deal, that'd be a good idea for the Hawks. Don't want to go the full max at this point in time. He might want the full max. We'll see. Dyson, I know everybody's already asked about. I get it, but most, not all, the vast majority, I would say, of non-max rookie scale extensions, which is where Dyson is, don't happen until October. Jalen Johnson happened in October. Okongwu happened in October. Even DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, they happen in October. Unless you're getting the max, like Trey's deal happened right away in July. Made sense. It was an easy one. It was going to be the max. It was. There you go. But if there's any negotiation, and there is with Dyson, they don't usually happen early. Now, there is one that actually happened already. Jabari Smith Jr. agreed with Houston, like right out of the gate. That's the exception. So we'll see if that happens. We don't know. But in the meantime, that's a priority piece of business for the Hawks. But yeah, 2 extensions, 2 or 3 roster spots, 2-way contracts. They got $7.5 million of the tax. We'll see. But yeah, usually the league is kind of quiet on July 4th. Usually, not always, because like guys have signed, Gordon Hayward signed on July 4th, I believe. Kevin Durant did at one point in time. So like occasionally you get a big bomb drop on July 4th. But this year it's been like the last 2 days have been kind of quiet around the league. So we'll see. But stay tuned. I will have full coverage no matter what. I have some guests lined up for the next couple of days and weeks. I have Glenn Willis hopefully coming on the podcast talking about Summer League in advance. I have a couple of episodes focused on Alexander Walker and Porzingis as well that I've already recorded and will hopefully share with you next week as I am traveling. But yeah, a lot to get to. Please subscribe to Locked On Hawks anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, etc. Follow the show on Twitter/X at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow me as well on Blue Sky at BT Rowland. And my non-podcast work on the writing side, on the extra audio side, etc. is at patreon.com/BT Rowland. All right, everybody. Hopefully you enjoy your July 4th, your holiday weekend. And we'll be back pretty soon here, I promise you, on the Locked On Hawks podcast. We'll see you all next time.